Well, you're not alone, and we're all faced with similar challenges. In today's world, conventional marketing is not enough. We are all challenged with driving more high-quality leads into our portfolio, decreasing resident acquisition costs, and creating rich content to drive consumer engagement. In today's world, conventional marketing is just not enough. That's why we turn to Rubrik. At Belmont, we plan and execute a diverse mix of paid media, which you see on the screen right now. Everybody uses these methods, and we found they're just not enough. Multiple marketing methods were not getting us the result we wanted to touch the family sooner. You need to look at this the same way you would manage your portfolio. You need to manage your marketing investment. Annual marketing plans drive strategy. You need to evaluate your return on investment. Is it really working? You need to adjust accordingly based on trends. These could be performance trends, performance metrics. Take a look at the yellow here on my slide. This is the shift in our media investment from 2013 to present. We have gone from 23% to almost 50% spend in the digital area. Our website is our front door, and it's our best sales platform. This is your opportunity to create content marketing that's rich. It can tell your story, share your values, engage the customer, and then look at the behavioral data that fuels some of those refinements that you find on your website. We all know that selling senior living is a unique challenge. Why? 2 customers to make the move. The resident and also the family member. And guess what? They don't always agree. And the resident, still our #1 competitor, home. There was a research study that was done that looked at what matters most in assisted living communities to the resident and what matters most to the families. And guess what? They both wanted the same thing, but had very different priorities. The resident wanted choice and preference. The families wanted staff competency. Let's look at the senior living journey. Out of mind, this is when mom's living at home and the adult child is not even thinking about senior living. Then an episodic event happens. Mom falls. All of a sudden now it's top of mind. And guess what? Now they start to search for senior living to find that peace of mind. Rubrik is a customer survey tool that is built onto our website, and you see the picture here at the bottom. The survey link is on our homepage. Is it time to get help? The link is branded to match our company graphics. The survey is free, private, and very confidential. We have a responsibility to help prospects move down the sales funnel. In the beginning, the customer stage, they're just starting to research the industry, and we're sending them rich content about education. We have strategically placed the Rubrik survey at the top of the sales funnel to help move that customer down from the planning action phase. There are 20 questions part of the Rubrik process. The questions are very thoughtful. Is this the right time for senior living? They're very engaging. They're thorough, friendly. And each one comes with a tip that is so reassuring to family members that you will find next to every question. Let's look at some of the results. This is the care needs score. So on here, mom scored 52 out of 100. It'll give you an overview of the needs, and then it'll also give you the recommendations for the best setting where those needs can be met. This gives the family the opportunity to start having the discussion. There's also a senior living fit report that is very personalized and customized. It gives you the care needs score again. It talks about the best options, and it helps to frame their situations in their own words. Where mom is living, is she able to drive still? So again, in the first person and very, very thorough. We added Rubrik to our sales and marketing program. And again, the reason we talk about this survey having legs, it gives you an opportunity to take that survey, share it with other family members that may not be on the same page. They could also bring the survey in to start the conversation with a Belmont associate. So many of the tours that come in actually have the Rubrik survey in hand. We all know that an educated lead is a more qualified lead and more likely to take action. More than 40% of survey users decide they're ready to move forward with us and share the rubric report again during that tour process. It's almost like a virtual sales associate that we have working behind the scenes. So the question is, we've all been part of lengthy pilot projects. How easy was it to get started? The technology had a very easy fit, quick installation, simple pricing, and the test pilot showed immediate results. And guess what? I'm still friends with IT too. Let's look at the marketing impact that we experienced. 73 new leads in the first month and similar monthly performance since inception. We had almost 10 minutes of engagement on our website, 65 more leads each month, and 23 plus new data points. Better quality leads, higher conversion. Now, what about the sales impact? We now regularly see more leads, more tours, and more move-ins at a cost well below our spend rate for third-party referrals. 24% lift in leads, 197 tours from Rubric, 41 move-ins at a cost less than $2,700 per move-in. What about the return on investment that we talked about earlier? We looked at those 41 move-ins times average length of stay, times their average monthly rate, and we had a lifetime value of over $7 million just from the Rubric move-ins. So let's talk about, you're probably sitting there wondering, like, why does this tool work? It seems pretty simple. Well, one, it's objective, it listens without selling, and it builds confidence and trust. It takes that little voice that the adult child is having, knowing that mom's not safe at home, I need to do something. And once they take the tool, it prompts them to take action. So let's look at also feedback that we received. So this is feedback from Nancy. She was taking care of her husband with Parkinson's for over 24 years. She said that the Rubric Care Fit survey was the kicker she needed to think that maybe she was trying just too hard to keep her husband at home. She also found that any company that cared enough to develop something this sophisticated and this caring is the kind of place where she would love for her husband to live. So together, Belmont Village and Rubric are making a difference.
27 in 3 months. That's how many showers Ruth, a resident of Tockwatton, received over the course of 3 months. Can you imagine 27 unfamiliar faces? 27 different sets of hands touching Ruth's body. We learned of this distressing number when Drive, a consulting firm we hired to stabilize our staffing, conducted focus groups with the residents. April of 2018, we had a turnover rate of about 56%. Agency use was running about 5%, overtime at 4%. And in addition to that, 75% of our shifts, we had at least one staff member call out sick. We had to stabilize our staffing. We weren't quite sure how to get there, and that was our wake-up call to hire Drive. Open positions impact more than just the numbers. They impact lives, residents' lives, when they're giving care from a caregiver that doesn't truly know them. Staff lives when they can't trust their coworker. And ultimately, it has an impact on the overall organization with an unnecessary drain on resources and a poor customer experience. Through our work with Drive, we soon discovered that we didn't have a staffing crisis, we had a culture crisis. And it became crystal clear to me why previous initiatives to stabilize our staffing just fizzled out. They didn't address the true issue, which was culture. Through a step-by-step process, we uncovered the why behind our turnover. Instead of throwing solutions at a problem we didn't truly understand, we could move forward with a more strategic approach to addressing our culture issues that were having an impact on our residents, the staff, and the bottom line. Addressing our culture, we first moved towards leadership development. I don't know if you ever heard someone say that staff don't leave their jobs, they leave their supervisors. Well, the folks at Drive challenged all the managers at Tockwatton to flip this around. We wanted people to stay because of their supervisors. Next, we asked Drive to conduct focus groups with our residents, our staff, and the family members. Oh, I take that back. We're going to go back one slide. Ongoing leadership development was a commitment of time and money, but it was much needed. You see, our staff were misbehaving, and our managers were afraid to hold them accountable and fear that we would lose even more staff. So we had to address that, and we did through education and ongoing leadership. So next we asked Strive to conduct focus groups, and it was important to us to get honest feedback. And so we had Drive, an outside neutral party, collect that data for us. They had to shine a light on the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I have to tell you, it was priceless intel. The most common concern discussed during the focus groups was staffing. One staff member said it perfectly: we're losing good people because they're burnt out and they're frustrated. You see, turnover was having an impact on the staff, and as I told you in my opening story, the residents as well. Hearing the feedback from the focus groups, coupled with the money that we were spending on overtime and agency, it became clear that we had to take a radically different approach. We had to dive even further into the data. Since our staffing was having an impact on the residents and our reputation and the bottom line, Drive's staffing analytics advisor, who was a professor at Cornell University, took a look at all of our schedules, including overtime and sick calls. And so it was a completely different view of the data. Based on this analysis, Professor Slough made recommendations to adjust our staffing patterns based on our actual needs. We didn't just let these recommendations sit on a shelf to gather dust. We acted on them. And we took what we learned in our leadership development sessions, and we communicated the changes to the staff so we could gather their support. We knew what was happening from scrutinizing the data, but we wanted to know why it was happening. That why was culture. Culture are the shared values in your organization. It's what guides your staff when the boss isn't watching. But we had to ask the question, could you measure something as intangible as culture? Well, the answer to that was yes. Drive first used the culture assessment tool with the leadership team, and just recently, all the rest of the organization, including the residents, completed the tool. From it, I learned exactly what was motivating the team members and what was and wasn't working. Instead of throwing programs at the problem, we could be more strategic in our approach. The tool asked just 3 questions. What are your top 10 personal values? What are the current values you're seeing in the organization? Not what you see in the lobby in the front hallway, but what was actually happening day in and day out. And then the last question they asked was, what were the 10 values you'd like to see more of in the organization? And what we discovered was everything that was below the surface. It's like an iceberg. On top of the iceberg was our turnover and our staffing issues. The culture assessment tool discovered all those things lurking beneath the surface. You're probably wondering what we discovered through this process. Our biggest revelation was that the team members wanted to see more accountability. Our focus became, how do we instill more accountability in the organization? And then part of our strategic initiative was to develop leaders so they knew how to hold their staff accountable. Next, we conducted, we pulled the staff together, and we conducted town hall-like meetings. We discussed the work we did with Drive, and we discussed accountability. I asked the question, how many times per month would it be acceptable for someone to be late? I knew my answer. The good staff spoke up and said never. So here we had peers saying the threshold should be 0. So the results. We have seen a 32% decrease in our turnover. We've seen an 11% decrease in our overtime and a 37% decrease in agency use. We've taken a data-driven approach to address our stabilized staffing. But more importantly, we acted on that data. If we hadn't acted on that data, we would not have seen those type of results. Improving our culture through this data-driven process has meant that we've stopped a significant bleed of resources associated with filling open positions. Because of that, we even renewed our contract with Drive for the second year. However, I did tell them they're working themselves out of a job. Most importantly, though, we've seen through the changes, we've seen that the residents are getting much more consistent care and better care. Remember Ruth, who was showered by 27 different staff members? 1 year later in a focus group, the residents were asked what could be improved upon. The room was silent. Ruth broke that quiet with, "The silence says it all." So what we thought was a journey with Drive to fix a staffing stability issue became a journey to fix an ailing culture. One would have been a road to nowhere, the other a road to reaching our full potential, and we chose wisely. Thank you.
All right. So, a VP of sales up here talking about activities. Kind of weird, huh? But really think about it. What do we sell in senior living? We sell a vision. We sell social interaction, friends, fun. We sell that we are better than home. But are we, really? Well, meet Janet. Janet recently moved to a senior living community after living alone for nearly 40 years. She was hoping for all of those things that we promise, but now she's here, and she doesn't know anyone. She feels like no one has a clue about her. She's become anxious, doesn't attend activities, and we are not helping the cause. Staff is limited. Residents need more than we can possibly give, and for a whole host of reasons. Maybe cognitive impairment, perhaps family who do not visit, or it could be over-medication. This is a setup for failure, and the research proves we are failing. 11 minutes per day of interaction in skilled care, 20 minutes in assisted living. Can you imagine this level of interaction in your own life? It's depressing. This just isn't us fulfilling our promise of being better than home. And what are we offering? Is it the same old Bible, bingo, and birthdays? Well, research shows that 50% of activities today are still those three things. Again, it's a setup for failure, and we are not proving our value. So at Juniper, we developed a signature program called Connections to disrupt the notion of activities. Our goal was to integrate engagement across our teams and across our community. And of course, in true Juniper fashion, we needed a way to make that data informed. Our goal of our Connections program was to foster purpose and meaning, and to do that by reducing isolation, maintaining cognitive function as long as possible, and truly optimizing and enabling our staff. Because we all know, just showing up isn't enough. And previously, our only measure of success was attendance. But what did we really know about these people and what they wanted? What would spark their individuality and interest? So we needed a way to fully operationalize the vision of our Connections signature program, to really be able to analyze the interests and needs of each individual, and to be able to truly find that spark. And what we found with Link Senior was a true positive feedback loop. So the more we learned, the more we planned, the more we began to engage the residents, we were better able to evaluate what works to create a true personalized experience. First, we paired Juniper's My Life Story tool with the Link Senior Resident Engagement Platform. We created an app that can be accessed from anywhere, and as we all know, this life story is the normal part of the move-in process, but now we're able to build as we go. So what we achieved was true workflow support, not just technology for the sake of technology. We learn more about the individual from friends, family, our team, and we're able to build that profile as we go. We're also able to analyze demographic patterns. So at one of our communities, we have 12 different religions from 8 ethnic backgrounds. How can you even manage that? How can we expect our normal team member to even know what to do with that? Well, the good news is they don't have to. The app provides that data analysis of demographic groups and interest categories. The app provides specific content, and our team provides the fun. Another cool thing about the app is it has loads of content that's diverse and even cool. Things from John Wayne to old TV programs to art history, and of course, Elvis. And this enables any one of our team members to really facilitate reminiscence in each individual resident. And it's customized, individualized, evergreen, and it can engage residents at any cognitive or physical status. And we also can use it to track what our staff does, with whom, when, why, and how. Thus enabling our team to spend less time at their desk and more time engaged with the residents. Link Senior has reduced our prep and research time by a whopping 2/3. This fosters both associate and resident satisfaction and enables us to turn wandering into a walk. So with that resident who has wandering behaviors, anyone can pull up the app and see how best to interact. The prescription is engagement. And our results, well, they've been pretty incredible. We recently completed a pilot at one of our communities in State College, Pennsylvania, and all measures of engagement, from minutes per day to participation to number of programs offered, increased dramatically. And Juniper is not alone. There was a recent research study done by the McMahon Research Group, I think results just came out this week, that showed broadly positive results that validate the benefits of the Link Senior platform. And remember Janet from, I don't know, about 6 minutes ago? Well, she is an actual resident who was in our case study. And over that year, the number of programs that Janet participated in tripled. And these are programs that are meaningful to her. She's more active, engaged, happy. Janet is the real success story. And so what about my job, VP of Sales? And what about our job of selling the value of senior living as opposed to our biggest competitor, home? Well, we can speak with greater confidence and know that we can fulfill our promise to each resident. We have the data now, and we have the stories. Thank you.
So let's talk about telemedicine a little bit. So Ignite Medical Resorts, firstly, a little bit about us. We're a boutique. Is that the card outside? Okay, I thought it was me. We're a boutique rehab facility. We're kind of a newer company, kind of a quintessential startup in this industry. 3 facilities with about 5 on the horizon, all focused on short-term care, high acuity care, and kind of doing something different with our partners in alignment. So for us, really, our value add is creating outcomes, readmission reduction with ACOs, bundle payment providers, and managed care companies, and looking at total cost of care reduction. So we needed solutions and technology to help us do this and not do it the same old nursing home way that's been done. So we've partnered with Third Eye Health to look at some telemedicine solutions and have looked at how do we treat a sicker patient, right? So our goal is to kind of eradicate what I would call the blockbuster video of our industry, which is LTACs, and look at ability to look at how do we handle higher acuity patients, how do we handle the sick of the sick, and do it at a lower cost of care and do it with technology, better training, better nurses, and support sicker patients at higher acuity levels. So we need to do that with 24/7 physician coverage. As most of you know, in our facilities, we do have very good day coverage, 6 days a week, people coming constantly. But what happens at 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 11 p.m. when a change of condition occurs? And so Third Eye's platform has telehealth coverage for nights and weekends, where we seem to find the biggest issue with how do we react to a change of condition and keep patients in-house. We've also tried many telehealth solutions. I've been doing probably telehealth for 10 or 12 years, and most solutions are very clunky. They're these giant carts you have to wheel out. They have all sorts of connectivity issues. The nurses are very threatened and frankly scared of the equipment. This is literally their solution. It's an iPad mini with a button on it. And so my nurses are very easy to say, I can use that, and I can use it every day. So Third Eye's solution is a mobile-first telehealth-focused EHR. They have physicians, 90 physicians and 10 nurses. They employ nocturnists, ER doctors. These are folks who are trained at how to respond and not just say, I don't know what the patient is, send them to the ER. Been in business for 5 years as well. Third Eye's differentiation, intuitive technology. Again, there's a way to do telehealth different that makes it more adaptable to your site, and that your nurses and CNAs at 11 o'clock at night don't need to call a manager to figure out how to use something. A great physician team, as I said, you have to have a physician on the other end of the phone that wants to help you troubleshoot and not just say, you're waking up in the middle of the night, just send the patient to the ER. So this is how it works. You literally pull up an iPad mini, you click, call the clinician, you fill out a couple of pieces of information, you go through the consult request, which is all populated from the nurse. Again, we're still training our nurses to focus in on SBAR, situation, background, assessment, and recommendation. We're still having to provide vitals and information to the doctor to give them the situation of what's going on. But immediately, that physician can understand what's happening with the patient. Again, they're all post-acute emergency medicine trained physicians. They're used to treating care of patients that are coming through an ER. We're usually working with the same doctor, so they learn what are your capabilities. For instance, in our buildings, we have in-house pharmacy, in-house labs. They can get access to them quicker than if they were maybe at a different type of a facility. Proactive visits, we're requiring our nurses to do hot lists where every new patient and every change of condition is seen every single night. Rounding model, again, we get the same doctor who gets to learn and know your facility. And it's complementary to primary care because these physician visits are not billed. We're paying for this as a part of our service to increase our outcomes. The regular attending physician can come in the morning and bill on the consult. They're not affected their billing at all. So within minutes, you get a physician response to a nurse. This is what comes up. You end up getting the electronic medical record. The physician can understand the vitals. Why is the nurse calling the doctor? What's going on with that patient? Again, it could be simple as we have a new admission that came at 6 o'clock at night. We want to do an initial H&P. It could be something as we have a change of condition. The patient's having trouble breathing. The video encounter comes. The doctor comes on screen. She gives a high five like that at all the times. I'm joking. So that's what it looks like. She's on the screen. Then they can hand the iPad to the patient. We can hand it to the nurse. It depends on what's going on with that specific situation. They also there's this care coordination tool where the physician and the nurses are going back and forth and documenting. They also have access to our point-click care system or our EMR. We just happen to use point-click care. The physicians can document live in point-click care. So again, when that nurse practitioner or physician comes in the morning, they can see the note from the on-call telemedicine physician from the night after, can react to it. As I mentioned earlier, we have what's called a hot list. It generates a patient list. These are all new admissions and all change of condition. So every day you're using the system. It's not, hey, we have to use this telemedicine system and I don't understand how to use it. Every day they're using it. So it could be 2 new admissions and 2 change of condition. It could be 5 new admission, 5 change of condition. Every day they're using the system. Every single day they're talking to the doctor. Some of the capabilities, we can review new admissions. As you guys know, most of the time in our industry, people are coming after 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. We don't have a doctor in-house. It's nice to have a physician take a look at it. Writing bridge scripts for things like pain medication and antibiotics is very key. Checking on wound care. A patient that comes in with a specific type of wound or some type of surgical wound, they're looking at the dressing, they're looking at the actual wound on an iPad. Following up on change of condition, what can we do to stop something going on right now before it becomes an issue and they need to go to the hospital? And talking with a family. I can't tell you how many times it helps to have a family who's sitting there concerned that their loved one has an issue, and they turn around and they can speak to a doctor on an iPad, and they can calm their anxiety down and say, we understand this. This is the right place for your loved one to be. Clinical capabilities, again, dialysis issues. A lot of our centers write in-house dialysis. A lot of those folks have issues with hemoglobins and other things after dialysis, and so those physicians can respond to that. A lot of issues with falls on nighttime, especially where you have, do we need to send this patient to the emergency room? Do we not? What's going on with the fall? What happened? Coordination of ED transfer for transfusion. A lot of times we can get patients into OBS or into a quick ER visit, not have them readmitted to the hospital, but get them back by just doing a transfusion or some type of a quick CT scan. The goal here is not readmitting patients to the hospital. Whether we like it or not, it's one of the #1 metrics we're judged on is our rehospitalization rate. And so this is all a technology to help us provide a lower total cost of care and better outcomes to our patients, but also to our key constituents. Third Eye nationally has a 25% reduction for the average customer. The ROI, again, you're keeping patients in-house. We can bill on these patients because they're now in our bed, not in a hospital bed. You're avoiding value-based purchasing penalties. You're increasing your star rating. So there's other things that kind of are overall benefits for this. Staff satisfaction, nursing team knowing that they can treat a patient with a telemedicine solution instead of just, by the way, we're going to take all this high acuity, good luck. And know that they have, again, night and weekend call for that, and we're not bothering our nursing managers all the time. Family satisfaction is very key as well. As most of you know, with PDPM, we are getting incentivized for higher acuity. So this is something that, as we continue to push the boundaries on taking sicker patients, there's incentive to do this and do it well. Our physician documentation helps with MDS coding. We're looking at LTAC and IRF alternatives to this, and round-the-clock coverage helps us reduce our rehospitalizations and look at our overall star rating for our quality metric. So from Ignite specific data, you can see for us, we've been getting a complete increase in our telehealth consults. So every month we're growing in our telehealth consults, and as you can see from the graph, we've been able to reduce our readmission rates pretty considerably over the last year by implementing this. So no longer I have to worry about what happened at night, what happened in the weekend. I know that I've got somebody to help with managing my high acuity patients. So thank you.
I think I can speak for most healthcare organizations when I say that staffing is a constant challenge, especially when it comes to our certified nursing assistants who are faced with the burden of repetitive tasks on a daily basis. I saw SoundMind as an opportunity to lend my staff a helping hand and to reduce that burden of those repetitive tasks. And as for our seniors, it's no secret that across the nation, older adults are faced with feelings of isolation, loneliness, decreased independence, and oftentimes depression. I saw SoundMind as an opportunity to give my seniors a little bit of their independence back and to decrease those feelings of isolation and loneliness. SoundMind centrally manages and customizes voice assistants like the well-known Amazon Alexa in order to increase the quality of care that our residents are receiving, increase the efficiency in our staffing ratios, bring fun back into the aging process, and increase the involvement that our families have in our residents' recovery. SoundMind is a voice-first interface, meaning that all of these devices are controlled by the power of one's voice. This greatly increases the adoption that our seniors have because they're no longer faced with the barriers of technology, such as very small screens, very small buttons, or very complex devices. SoundMind gives residents the opportunity to ask voice assistants questions like, what time is my therapy appointment? Who is my social worker today? When can I have my next pain medication? What's on the menu for lunch? And interact with the devices to keep their mind sharp by interacting with applications such as history lessons, audiobooks, and many more. I started working with SoundMind at the end of 2018 after seeing their pilot program at another community in a McKnight's article. They were sort of in a startup mode, so I immediately felt that their responsiveness and their ability to customize the program to my community's needs went unmatched compared to any other company that was doing similar services. I also saw that their devices were completely HIPAA compliant. It was really important to me and to my community that all the residents' information that was either inputted into the resident portal or overheard by these Amazon Alexa devices was totally protected. They protect all of the information by masking any identifiers that go into the Amazon cloud. So in January 2019, we employed 25 Echo devices into the Birches at Trillium Woods, an owned and managed LCS community. Majority of these devices went into our transitional care unit. A handful of them went into our long-term care unit, and the integration process was much simpler than to be expected. SoundMind takes a lot of the back-end work off of our hands, which I'm sure most of you can appreciate. They are a total plug-and-play solution. They purchase the devices for you, they set them up remotely, and then they ship them to your front door. So when they arrive, all you have to do is choose which rooms they're going to go into, and then plug them into each of the rooms. Along with the devices, they also set up a resident portal for you, as you'll see on the screen. Once the devices, you've chosen which rooms they're going to go into, you create a profile for each of your residents. This contains their general information, their interests, their emergency contacts, their care plan, and then any of their personal appointments. Along with their personal profiles, the portal also contains any of your community information. So any of those monthly menus, the monthly activity calendars, the care plan schedule for the month. And then it also tracks all of your analytical data so you can see how the devices are being used throughout your community. And how about training? So it was really important to me that before the devices even got to the floor, my staff and my residents knew how to interact with the devices, so it was a very smooth implementation. SoundMind was able to offer us webinars until we felt totally comfortable using the devices, and then this summer, before a rather large update was sent out, they were able to send a representative out to the community and do some in-person training with our staff. Back to the piece of customization. We found that we were spending more than 30 hours each month inputting residents' personal therapy times and personal medical appointments into the portal. SoundMind created us a Dropbox where we're now able to upload an Excel sheet with all the residents' medical appointments, and they're automatically populated into each of the resident profiles. I would say that our staff's favorite part about these devices is that they are completely hands-free. Staff can go about their day-to-day cares and their day-to-day tasks, whether it's providing morning cares and can relax residents by playing their favorite music, or interact with the residents by having Alexa tell them a joke. It's definitely their favorite part. I would say that our family's favorite part about interacting with the devices is the capability to send text messages from the device to any of the residents' emergency contacts. The resident does not have to have a mobile device of their own. All they have to do is ask Alexa to update their status, and a message is sent to any of the contacts that are in the resident's profile. In our memory care unit, we have an Amazon Echo Show, which is one of the devices with the screen. This Echo Show has the capability to share photos and video chat with any of the residents' emergency contacts that has a smartphone. So whether the resident can video chat into their grandchild's graduation or receive photos from their family's vacation, it's really created a stronger bond between the family and the resident. Along with all of the SoundMind capabilities, the Alexa also contains all of the pre-programmed innate Amazon Alexa skills. So all of those applications like TED Talks and Jeopardy and This Day in History, those all remain on the device for the resident to use if they so choose. One of the newest updates is request routing. So similar to your work order system. A resident or staff member is now able to submit work orders that can be directly populated to the department specific. So if a resident drops a cup of coffee on the floor and they need a janitor to come help them clean it up, they can say, Alexa, I need something, and a request can be sent to the housekeeping department. SoundMind is also creating voiced First Tvs. So for those residents who are no longer able to use the remote to turn on the TV, change the channel, turn up the volume, they can simply use their voice. This greatly reduces the burden on staff because residents no longer have to rely on the staff to come turn on their TV or change the channel. How is the adoption? SoundMind has seen in some communities an adoption rate as high as 95%. And they're seeing when the SoundMind capabilities are installed on these devices, the adoption is 5 times more than when you just order the regular Amazon Alexa device. At Trillium Woods, I can definitely say that it's created stronger bonds between the staff and the residents, and both parties have really enjoyed working with the devices. Back to those feelings of isolation, loneliness, and depression, SoundMind did a study over a 6-month period of time, and they saw a 44% reduction in depression. Now, for something that is so popular over the entire country, this is something awesome. SoundMind is in assisted living communities, skilled nursing facilities, and memory care units, and by the end of the year, they're hoping to be in independent living communities as well.